She told me, she said, a lot of it is reports. We learn as officers to write reports a certain way and put certain elements into that report. And she said a lot of times some of the elements is left out. And I'm not blaming this all on the officer or Molly, because Molly, she's got to step up too, so it's both ways. But most of the time, she told me that if they got the good elements, the good reports, solid reports with all the elements in them, then they can go forward and prosecute. She doesn't mind prosecuting cases if all the elements of the case is in there. And she said at one time that they offered to put a report writing class on. Now I thought I always knew how to write a report, and maybe I don't. Maybe that to meet her specifications, maybe I don't know how to write a report. So once I'm sheriff, then I will talk to her, and we will go through the report writing policies and see just what she wants in the reports. Once we know what she wants in there, then if she doesn't prosecute, then she's got a problem, and then we'll be the problem. But we got to at least communicate with her, work with her. We can't just tell her names and expect her to go ahead and prosecute anything. We have got to work with her. So that's where I'm at with the DA. I think she'd probably be a pretty good DA. I think she's a great person. And I think she works hard enough. Her budget's small, and she's got a pretty hefty office. So, but it's just like everything else. It takes time, involvement, and the elements of the crime.
Thank you very much, Boyd. And now I'd just like to take a moment to give us a little breather for a second between questions. Thank you, Alan. You may keep that microphone though, because you're going to be coming up soon. I haven't forgotten you. However, Barb Penzick is sitting poised at the ready with our Freedom Bucket, our candidates, and my exorbitant fee, and others cost the Tea Party a tremendous amount of money, so we're hoping we can defray some of those costs by enjoying a little bit of deposit in our Freedom Bucket. So Barb, if you would pass that along, please. We sure do appreciate it very much, and thank you. And now then, for the next question. And this is all candidates, same question. So now, Barb, our candidates have a donation. Is that unfair or what? Ooh, I didn't say that. That's it. I didn't say that.
Take some change.
Okay, gentlemen, all three. How would you as sheriff improve protection? Excuse me? Are you paying attention? Is this on? Hello? How would you as sheriff improve protection for citizens on the Riverwalk, in the Rouse Park, ECO Park, Bush Hollow, etc., and other multi-jurisdictional areas from the drug users, dealers, homeless, panhandlers, and gang activity?
The only way realistically to deal with that is to have a deputy assigned, and that kind of really falls at the feet of resource allocation, and we're going to have enough resources to make that happen. So that's the first question that has to be answered. The rest of it is something that both the city and county are struggling with as far as what do you do with the homeless people. Because I know what my parks manager wants to do, and it's basically violate their First and Fourth Amendment rights and their Eighth Amendment rights, which we didn't do. Boulder, Colorado has a big issue with homeless. They tried legislating no camping, that failed. The city talked about it, it failed. The county has talked about it, and I believe they're still talking about it to a degree. But the reality is homelessness is here to stay, and it's just how do you deal with it since we have it. The drug dealers, that's basic law enforcement. If you've got probable cause to arrest, make the arrest. If our district attorney is having issues with reports, this is the first I've heard of it, because that information is not being communicated to the chief law enforcement officers of this county, because if it were, that's something that we could directly address. So I haven't heard that to be the issue. The third part of the question?
The third part of the question is basically the drug activity, dealers, homeless, and that type of thing.
Okay, anything that's criminal activity, then my stance is zero tolerance, because if you look the other way once, it's very easy to look the other way a second time. Now, traffic law, I look at that a little differently. That's not part of the question, but I want to throw this out here. Is that needs to be an educational experience for the citizens and not to generate revenue. It should be to reduce traffic fatalities, traffic accidents, traffic injuries. It should not be used to generate revenue. Okay, I want that clear. Do we need traffic enforcement? Yes, we do. I live on Park Avenue. I know what the traffic's like after a ball game. I take 1 or 2 stops, and
Thank you very much.
that would be eliminated.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. Skip? How would you as sheriff improve the protection of citizens on the Riverwalk and in the various multi-jurisdictional areas from the drug abuse dealers, homeless campers, and panhandlers, etc.?
Well, I know what Colorado Springs is doing in El Paso County. They've got little signs up with the stop symbol, with the hand, with money, and it works. People see that, they keep on going. Okay, and there is a homeless problem, man. Mr. Cooper's right, it's going to here to stay. But if we can get them productive into the society and get jobs and find jobs for them where they want to work. Right now, you go for offer them a job, they're going the other way. They make more money staying there panhandling than it does to do work. So those people don't want to work. So we've got to address that issue. But the whole problem all boils down to the citizens. We have a lot of good citizens that want to help, but handing them money is not helping. In Colorado Springs, they've got a sign up that says, if you'd like to help this person, just send your contributions to, and they've got an address of churches and centers like that. And we've got Fish and Loaves, or Loaves and Fishes, is working good to do something. So the drug dealers, again, I think that boils down to my proactivity with my deputy placement programs, have them walk through the parks. And what I want to do with my citizens, I'm going to arm them with radios. And we got to volunteer. If a citizen sees something going down, he'll have a radio frequency, and they can call us and let us know. But I think awareness, proactivity, and the citizens helping and seeing this going down is going to be a lot of the help to get it solved. Because without the citizens, I'm dead in the water. Thank you.
Thank you, Skip.
The river walks and stuff, there's people on them all the time. You'd have to separate that. One would go into Canyon PD, one would go into the county. And you'd have to have assigned deputies to do that and patrol that, and to keep that clean as much as possible. Right now, it's not feasible for either, I don't believe, Canyon PD or, although I see Canyon PD down on the river walk going through patrol. So for the county, we don't have the manpower. As far as the homeless, I've been to a couple of homeless coalition meetings. I've been trying to listen to them. It's a problem. It's a big problem between Canyon, Florence, and Penrose, and not only just for the homeless, but a lot of them turn into squatters. Then you got a really big problem. And Penrose just went through a big deal with some squatters out there that the sheriff's department had to come out and take care of. So I don't know what the answer to homeless is. I just don't know. I think that Canyon and the sheriff department and Florence PD, maybe they all need to get together with the fathers and see just what they want to do to help or get rid of them or whatever they want to do to them. One man doesn't have the answer to that, and I certainly don't. As sheriff, I would need to talk with as many people as we can to do that, not to violate these people's rights and get sued. So I think it has to be a joint effort between all the jurisdictions here to work on that problem, and it's a big problem. It's going to get bigger. Yeah, and some of them, really, just because they're homeless doesn't mean they don't have an income. Some of them are retired people that lives that way. They get a check on a debit card every month, and they just live as a homeless, but they have the means to live somewhere else. But, anyway.
Thank you, Boyd. Another question for all candidates. Mr. Cooper, the tax increase specifically allocated to the Sheriff's Department a few years ago has provided additional funds for the Sheriff's Department, and at this time, do you believe the budget is adequate for the future?
Again, a short answer, no, the budget is not adequate for the future. There are some issues that the money has not taken care of. My understanding, and I don't think that's changed, is that a lot of the electronic locks in the detention side are failing, and the retrograde that just came in was not compatible fully with the software, so there are some issues there that still need to be resolved. I wish I had more details to give you there, folks, I don't. What else needs to be done? I'm like the other three candidates, or the other two candidates here, is I really need to sit down and look at that budget and talk with the folks that are there and see where some of this money is going. There is some expenses that I don't understand, and so far, in my book, I don't have an adequate response back, and so I need to look into that a little further and find out what some of these accounts are and why money was spent in the manner that it was.
Thank you very much. Skip.
Well, Mr. Cooper answered it pretty plain. It's not adequate, but I see some waste. To give you an example, $750-some thousand in 2016 for medical expense. That's pretty high. I believe, once I get in and take a look at it, because you know, once you put somebody in there, you're responsible for them. When I did my clinicals in Washington, guy come in from a bar fight, cut up, the jailer said, no, I'm not going to take him. He issue him a summons, or take him to the hospital and get him cleaned up or do something. And that's what we need to do. We need to look at every case individually coming in and see if we need to take them in and provide our medical costs and our taxpayers, your medical costs, or do we just issue them a citation, and if you're not into drugs and not high on drugs, and we don't have to put them on prisoner watch, you know, we have to look at each individual case. But it definitely needs change, but like I told you earlier on, there's no way that I can ask the citizens of this county for a 1% more increase when you haven't seen good stewardship of your money the way it is. And I plan on getting in there, going through item, and if I got duplication of services, we're going to change it. It's just going to take some time, but I guarantee it will get done, and that's what it's going to take. Then I'll ask for a 1% increase when I get it straight.
Thank you, Skip. Go ahead.
When I looked at the budget this year, I didn't understand it, I'll be honest with you. So there's no line-by-line type item, just like Ellen said. We're going to have to sit down and look at that and try to figure out, and maybe even go back to commissioners and ask them why they put it in there this way. I don't know, or St. Brian. But it's pretty complicated, and you can't really read. There's a big lot of money over here, and there's nothing here, and you just don't understand quite where all that money's going. So with that, but I know the A1, they did a lot of remodeling in the jail this year. That's where a lot of the A1 tax money went, or that's what I was told. I think the A1 money is a good thing. I think it needs to stay there. It comes due again, I believe, in 2020. Yeah, and so I think it's a good thing for the department. But as far as the budget, we just didn't have to sit down and go over with the commissioners on the line-by-line item. They're just not understandable.
Thank you very much. Now, I didn't write this, but the question is rather lengthy.
Okay.
80. The county sheriff's department in more than 16 counties in Colorado have volunteer posses. Fremont County does not have a volunteer posse. Local community members volunteer their skills and experience and supplement the efforts of paid law enforcement. Volunteer posse members can help with traffic control, prisoner transfer, schools, athletic events, patrols, security, civil standby, catastrophic events, etc., etc. The addition of these volunteers can make the operation of the Sheriff's Department more effective and efficient and enable limited budgets to increase their effectiveness and as it applies to law enforcement. What is your position on the volunteer posse, and if elected, would you commit to, or at least consider, studying the possibility of forming a posse in Fremont County?
There there's two sides to that particular question. I'm going to take the easy one first, which is the posse. I started out as a posseman for Fremont County. But the rules have changed, and they changed because a volunteer in Montrose, Colorado, he was volunteering for a police department as a reserve officer, was killed in the line of duty. And I know what happens to any of my folks if they're killed in the line of duty. They get a payout, a life insurance payout from the state. The city carries one on us now. They just bumped that up. I think they multiplied it by a factor of 3 for our officers because it was $100,000 and that's not enough. That officer, when he was killed in the line of duty, his family got a 0. Nothing. Because he volunteered his time, he wasn't compensated. That effectively killed the reserve deputy and reserve officer program in the state of Colorado. Now, to maintain a posse, they're mandated to have the same level of training, the same background vetting, the same post standards as a Class 1A peace officer. So it doesn't make any difference if I don't have the money to spend in the office to send them to that training, because I'm not going to ask an individual that's volunteering their time to pay for their uniform, pay for their training. A polygraph examination alone is $250. Psychological evaluation is $450, and that's too much money. Volunteers are completely, and I would consider a posse program. Volunteers are a completely different matter. We have a lot of citizens that volunteer for the police department. They come in, they do data analysis, they do IT work, they do filing with our records clerks. There's a lot of things that an individual can do on a volunteer basis and do it part-time and assist the office. They can't take the place of a paid person because that's a violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Thank you.